pameran ini merupakan satu-satunya pameran yang mendatangkan banyak audiens dari luar negeri. Itu memang salah satu nilai plusnya dari pameran ini. Selain potensi customer, kita juga melihat beberapa vendor atau supplier yang kita bertemu berkenalan di pameran. Dengan adanya Buzzworld Southeast Asia di Indonesia ini, saya kira sangat bagus sekali untuk industri bus di Indonesia, karena benar-benar bisa memperkenalkan produk-produk Indonesia ke ajang internasional, terutama yang memang berhubungan langsung dengan dunia bus. Jadi memang sangat tepat sasaran.
Ini kita ikut yang pertama, kita yang tahun lalu belum pernah ikut, kita di sini. Di sini kita banyak ketemu orang yang kita belum pernah ketemu sebelumnya. Hal-hal baru yang juga kita belajar di sini, ketemu dengan vendor-vendor yang dari juga kebetulan dari luar negeri juga sempat datang kan di sini. Jadi kita banyak belajar di sini. Ya kita senang sih kita bisa ikut di Buzzworld ini karena kita merasa pameran yang ini yang lebih terarah, karena kita di sini yang datang pun orang yang sudah mengenal dunia ini, bukan orang umum. Jadi setiap conversation yang kita lakukan juga topiknya lebih narrow, lebih kecil begitu.
Saya terus terang sangat mendukung event-event ini karena ini event adalah B2B, barang-barang investasi yang mereka dapatkan dari yang pameran di sini. Saya lihat dari situ adalah salah satu penting karena ini adalah kebanyakan pebisnis semua pada yang punya kepentingan dalam hal ini. Kalau di pameran-pameran customer-nya udah terfilter automatically. Terima kasih terhadap GEM yang sudah mengadakan ini dan Buzzworld yang bekerja sama dengan GEM. Mudah-mudahan di 2 tahun lagi ada di Indonesia lagi dan kami akan mengikuti lagi.
Dampak positif tentunya harapan kita pasti ya. Kita lebih banyak dikenal, efeknya adalah order yang berlimpah. Sukses, terima kasih dan harus tetap berjalan.
Banyak saya dampak positifnya, terutama kami mendapatkan banyak juga pengunjung-pengunjung yang potensial menjadi customer kami, baik dari dalam negeri maupun dari luar negeri. Paling banyak sih dari Indonesia, tapi juga ada beberapa dari India, dari Malaysia yang kemarin sempat juga berbincang-bincang dengan kami. Menurut kami, pameran seperti ini baik untuk dilaksanakan ya, karena membawa perusahaan kami untuk banyak exposure ke negara lain, juga ke pengunjung-pengunjung yang memiliki potensial menjadi customer kami.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to all speakers and attendees of Buzzworld Southeast Asia Webinar 2024 held by GEM Indonesia. I am Tiwi, hosting today's webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, today's webinar is a way to support Buzzworld Southeast Asia 2024, the only B2B exhibition in the region with us to focus on the bus and coach industry. It's the deal platform to launch new product, generate new sales leads, expand your network, receive great media attention, and so much more. Today, we are very honored with the participation of Bapak Tunjung Iswandaru as the Head of Transportation Department Surabaya City, Bapak Stefan Arman as the Technical Director PT Laksana Bus Manufaktur, Bapak Andi Utario Putro as the Director PT Maya Saribakti Utama, and Bapak Yoga Adiwinarto as the Advisor of Kalista Nusa Armada. Now, let us welcome Bapak Bakili, the Director GEM Indonesia, to deliver an opening remark. Kepada Bapak Baki, waktu dan tempat kami persilahkan.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Selamat pagi, selamat siang para narasumber dan Bapak Ibu yang hadir melalui platform Zoom hari ini dari berbagai belahan dunia, from the Europe, from India, and from Singapore, Malaysia, and also from China. Thank you to all speakers, moderators, and our supporting panels. Mr. Tunjung Iswandaru, Head of Transportation Department Surabaya, and Mr. Stefan Arman, Director of PT Laksana Bus Manufaktur, Mr. Andi Untario Putro, Director of Mayasari Bakti, Mr. Yoga Adiwinarto, Advisor of the PT Kalista Nusa Armada, dan Mr. Achman Izoworo from Institute for Transportation Studies. And Buzzworld Media Panels, Askarindo, IPOMI, Intrans, Bismania, dan our strategic panel from Harterbus, Ladies and gentlemen, puji syukur kita ucapkan kepada Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, hari ini kita bisa berkumpul mengikuti webinar Buzzword webinar yang kedua dalam kali untuk Indonesia dan kedua kali ini. Dan kali ini kita mengambil tema Electric Bus Indonesia Electric Bus Challenge and Implementations. So today, Buzzword South Asia is Southeast Asia's largest and more trusted and most anticipated bus and coach event. It's hidden an annual for us to welcome you of the Buzzword Southeast Asia webinar in series with the themes of Indonesia Electric Bus Challenge and Implementation. So we know Indonesia's government already set the plans, has a master plan with a commitment to achieve net zero emissions by 2060. To achieve this net zero emissions, we must work together. Indonesia's government had a plan to have all the public transport buses run on electricity bus. It means all transport buses will be used in electric bus. So has a set a plan to target to put up about 41,000 units of electric bus in operation before 2030. There will be at least 10,000 fleet operating in Jakarta. So the second city will be applied for the electric bus is Surabaya. So today we invite Mr. Tunjung. He's a head of transportation in Surabaya. Will have a plan to use the electric bus in the city. So the city of Jakarta also have plans, very big plans for to have a big electric bus, about 10,000 units before 2030. Not only that, Indonesia New Capital City, or EKN, or this is one of a new city in Indonesia, will be in Kalimantan. Also, we adopt green city concept. Doesn't mean all transport will be used electric, zero emission, and green concept. So this is a good opportunity for all of you who have the buses, especially for electric buses business. You can come to Indonesia. You can come to join with us for the Buzzword Southeast Asia in 2024. So will Indonesia, especially for Jakarta and Surabaya, achieve the target for the electric bus vehicle for 6 years later? So today, we invite all of you to hear about how is the Surabaya plant and how is the big operators, Mr. Mayasari, to work together with Transjakarta. And also we invite the auto body, one of the biggest auto body Indonesia, from Laksana Bus. And also we try to give more information how it's going on for the future Indonesia, especially to use the electric bus. So today, we hope all of you to enjoy the webinar. And we also invite you to come to our exhibition, Buzzword Southeast Asia 2024 in Jakarta from 15th until 17th of May this year. So we are expecting your presence at the venue to experience the more outstanding bus and coach exhibition will be held in South Asia. So we already have got many confirmed exhibitors to join the exhibition. For example, PT Laksana, PT Adiputro, New Armada, Centrum. Also from the China, Golden Dragon and Yutong will be coming to join, participate in the exhibition. So you can see a lot of the electric bus during the exhibition. Okay. Akhir kata, saya harapkan Anda semua yang secara virtual hari ini mendapat pengalaman yang berharga di Buzzword South Asia. I'm Bakili from GM Indonesia. Thank you and enjoy for this webinar.
Terima kasih Pak Baki atas kata sambutan yang luar biasa. Now, let us welcome the General Manager of Buzzword to present his remark. Vincent, would you please give us the welcoming remark?
Good morning to everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Bakili, for the introduction. I do not have a lot to add to that. The only thing is I want to thank the eloquent speakers today. And we are, of course, as Buzzworld International, supporting the shift to electrification, knowing that the world needs a solution for the global climate problems. Electrification could and should not only be good for the climate, but for the passenger. It is also an experience that is positive. Electrical vehicles are quiet vehicles for big cities, even for small cities. It's really a good thing. So we are keen to push that worldwide and also in our exhibition in 15th to 17th of May in Indonesia. Electrical buses for rather small distances, hybrid or hydrogen buses for long distances, coaches. So we are offering all products in our exhibition. Like Mr. Bakili said, we are welcoming all of you, not only in Indonesia, but also in Brussels and in Turkey, our other exhibitions. Buzzworld wants to be a platform for all bus believers and people who are conscious of the fact that we need a sustainable future. Thank you very much, and have a good webinar, and see you soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vincent. To all panelists, please keep your camera on during this webinar session. If you have some questions to the speakers, please post it on the chat column with the format as mentioned by our admin at the chat box. All right, everyone, for today's webinar, I would like to introduce Bapak Ahmad Izulwaro from Institute for Transportation Studies. He will become the moderator of the next session. Now let us welcome Bapak Izulwaro to start our next session. Silakan mengambil alih, Bapak. The stage is yours now.
Okay, thanks, TV, and good morning and good afternoon to all of you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed speakers, to be honest, Pak Tunjung Iswandaru, the head of Transportation Department of City of Surabaya, and then Pak Stefan Arman, Director of Laksana, and then Pak Andi ya, from Mayasari Bakti, one of the largest bus operator in Indonesia, and then Pak Yoga Diwinarto, the advisor from Kalista Nusa Armada, and then of course distinguished committee from GEM, both from GEM International and GEM Indonesia. Thank you for having me here. And then our distinguished participants, it is my great honor and privilege to welcome you all to this esteemed international seminar. Today, we gather here to delve into crucial discussion and exchange valuable insights on Buzzworld Southeast Asia webinar. As your moderator, I'm committed to ensuring that our discussions are productive, inclusive, and conducive to fostering greater understanding and collaboration. One thing that this webinar is officially delivered in English, but of course, since we are in Indonesia, some presentation will be delivered in Bahasa Indonesia as well, but don't worry if all participants need to access an English version of this presentation. Please call the committee after the webinar ended. Together, let us embark on this journey of knowledge sharing and exploration as we seek to address the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Thank you for your presence and active participation. Let us commence our proceedings with enthusiasm and shared commitment to excellence. Welcome to Indonesia Electric Bus Challenges and Implementation. My name is Izul. I am a senior researcher at Instran, one of collaborator of this event, and I will be serving as your moderator today. First, you will be hearing a presentation from Pak Tunjung Iswandaru, Head of Transportation Department of City Government of Surabaya, one of the important cities in the country, on this very timely subject. But before we get started, I want to take a few minutes of your time. Okay.
Oke, terima kasih Pak Uzur. Mohon maaf, bisa saya pakai bahasa Indonesia?
Oke Pak, don't worry Pak. Monggo, dipersilakan.
Oke. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I'm in bahasa. Perkenalkan, saya Tunjung Iswandaru. Saya Kepala Dinas Perhubungan Kota Surabaya. Nanti bisa dijelaskan ya Pak Zulfi, ya, biar yang lain bisa tahu. Saya akan mempresentasikan terkait dengan transisi dari penggunaan bahan bakar fosil ke bahan bakar listrik yang akan direncanakan di Kota Surabaya. Mungkin Pak Yusuf bisa menyampaikan lagi.
Okay. Dear participants, this presentation will be talking about the implementation transition of electric bus in the city of Surabaya, delivered by the head of the agency, Pak Tunjung.
Oke, lanjut. Ini kondisi dari Kota Surabaya. Kota Surabaya sendiri mempunyai luas kurang lebih 350 km, merupakan kota terbesar kedua di Indonesia setelah Jakarta. Monggo Pak.
Yeah, actually this the information for you that Surabaya is the second largest city in Indonesia besides Jakarta. So this is very important milestone for this country.
Okay. Existing, we have 58 traject roads and 22 roads for buses. And the planning, we need 30 roads for feeder and 11 roads for tram. I'm trying to English, Pak.
Okay, Pak. So,
Okay.
So in this presentation, you can see that Surabaya has so many routes and vehicles with some types. Microlab is like a microvan, MPVs, that Surabaya has 58 routes with 827 vehicles. And then the urban bus, they have 22 routes with 270 vehicles.
Okay. Existing, kami punya 56 unit armada feeder. Kemudian direncanakan nantinya 45 unit untuk tram lain.
Okay, and in feeder system to support the trunk line, they have 56 units and 45 units for the trunk line.
Okay. So next. Next. dari sana. Lanjut Pak, next slide. Next slide Pak, operator. Akhirnya sampai dicek. Iya. Mbak cetak. Iya. Oke, langsung. Iya. Sebelumnya. Oke. Kami memulai perbaikan layanan transportasi umum di Kota Surabaya dari tahun 2018 dengan satu koridor Surabaya Bus Utara Selatan, kemudian nambah lagi satu koridor di tahun 2019 untuk rute yang dari barat ke timur. Kemudian tahun 2020 stop karena COVID-19. Kemudian 2021 satu koridor Surabaya Bus, kemudian ditambah satu koridor dari Kementerian Perhubungan, yaitu Timur Barat yang tadinya milik kami, kemudian dioperasikan oleh dari Kementerian Perhubungan. Itu dulu Pak, silakan. Izin Pak, Pak Izul.
Izin Pak Tunjung, kalau berkenan barangkali disampaikan dulu, nggak apa-apa dalam bahasa Indonesianya. Nanti saya catat poin-poinnya Pak, nanti dalam bahasa Inggris seandainya nanti ada pertanyaan. Oke, Pak, gitu.
Ya, sebelumnya Pak, slide sebelumnya. Ya, jadi tahun 2022 itu untuk Surabaya Bus rute Mer itu diserahkan ke Perhubungan Darat, Kementerian Perhubungan, dengan dilayani oleh Semanggi Surabaya. Ini dioperatori oleh pihak ketiga swasta. Dan 2023 belum ada penambahan, kita hanya melakukan perubahan rute saja di rutenya. Kemudian ada penambahan feeder di 2023 sejumlah 57 unit, yaitu untuk rute ada 6 rute: Tunggal Benowo, Tunjungan, Majen Sungkono, Balai Kota, kemudian Terminal Jayabaya, Gunung Anyar, kemudian Citraland, Hayat Muhammad, kemudian Jayabaya, Latar Santri, dan Terminal Batang, Stasiun Park Santri. Kemudian di tahun ini, 2024, kami rencanakan untuk yang Surabaya Bus yang selama ini dikelola oleh pemerintah Kota Surabaya dengan UPT BRU-nya, nantinya akan diserahkan ke pihak ketiga dengan di BTS-kan di kurang lebih di pertengahan tahun ini. Kemudian termasuk juga feeder yang kita punyai di non-koridor kan kita BTS-kan juga, ditambah direncanakan satu lagi untuk penambahan daripada tramline ini bisa berupa listrik, kendaraan listrik. Kemudian 2025 seperti ini Pak, 2026, 2027 setiap tahun ada satu koridor karena keterbatasan anggaran, sehingga kami memulainya atau melaksanakannya minimal satu koridor yang kita rencanakan. Demikian Pak. Next slide. Ini realisasi penataan angkutan umum. Ada 4 rute yang ada di Surabaya. Kemudian di 6 rute feeder seperti ada di paparan ini. Lanjut. Next slide. Mohon izin, Pak. Sebelumnya Pak. Nah, ini jumlah penumpang dari tahun ke tahun. Next. Nah, ini grafik jumlah penumpang dari tahun ke tahun. Sebelumnya. Ini jumlah penumpang, Pak. Sebelumnya. Nah, ini dari tahun ke tahun, Pak, mengalami peningkatan. Mohon maaf sebelumnya, Pak. Setelahnya, nah, dari tahun ke tahun mengalami peningkatan sampai dengan tahun 2023 sejumlah 1.729.758 penumpang. Kemudian anggaran dari tahun ke tahun cukup baik. Di tahun 2024 kami memiliki anggaran kurang lebih 108. Next. Ya, ini ada beberapa tahapan. Sebelumnya, program uji coba bus listrik di Kota Surabaya sudah dimulai semenjak bulan dan 3 bulan terakhir, bulan November awal sampai dengan bulan Februari, dengan tahapan tentunya pertama tahapan perencanaan, kemudian tahapan uji coba sudah kita lakukan, kemudian yang ketiga adalah persiapan Pemda dalam rangka persiapan implementasi. 3 bulan sudah diuji coba dengan seluruh rute yang ada kita coba, dibantu oleh PT Kalista untuk melakukan program uji coba bus listrik tersebut. Harapannya tentunya supaya lebih mengenal karakteristik dari bus listrik, mulai dari operasional, kemudian pemeliharaan, kemudian termasuk dari pengisian bahan bakar atau bahan bakar listrik. Lanjut. Ini tentunya risiko apabila tidak melakukan uji coba, tentunya tidak ada perencanaan, teknologi yang dikenalkan juga kami tidak tahu karena ini merupakan barang baru. Terus terang di Surabaya itu barang baru. Kemudian dengan adanya manfaat uji coba, tentunya akan lebih baik dalam rangka perencanaan operasional dan pembiayaan. Kemudian akan lebih baik juga dalam rangka pemilihan merek atau produk daripada kendaraan tersebut. Kemudian melakukan identifikasi terhadap efisiensi penggunaan baterai, kemudian efisiensi atau kecepatan dari pengisian baterai untuk masing-masing merek tentunya berbeda. Kemudian melihat juga animo masyarakat terhadap penggunaan bus listrik. Lanjut. Kita uji coba selama 97 hari dengan total penumpang 24.342. Memang sangat kecil, Pak. Karena bus ini kita coba hanya 1 unit di masing-masing rute. Jadi 1 bulan hanya mencoba 3 bis. Kemudian di masing-masing rute kita coba 1, tentunya bis tersebut tidak memiliki jam. Jadi tidak terkoneksi dengan aplikasi, sehingga masyarakat belum tahu atau tidak bisa memastikan jadwal daripada bis tersebut, sehingga penumpangnya kurang bagus. Tetapi kita bisa melihat nantinya hasilnya bahwa berapa konsumsi atau efisiensi yang dilakukan oleh bis listrik dibandingkan dengan kendaraan berbahan fosil. Total kilometer adalah kami 52.550 dengan KWH harian 200 sampai 400 KWH. Total konsumsi energi kami 32.441 KWH. Bulan pertama, bulan kedua, dan sampai dengan bulan ketiga, ini kami coba dengan beberapa merek, dengan beberapa produk untuk dapat dianalisa keunggulan dan kekurangan dari masing-masing produk. Ini rutenya. Lanjut. Ini apa namanya, evaluasi dan monitoring daripada penggunaan bahan bakar untuk rasio energinya untuk bis besar itu adalah 1 kilometer membutuhkan 1,07 KWH. Kemudian untuk bus sedang 1 kilometer memerlukan setengah KWH 0,51. Sedangkan bus kecil itu hampir seperempat 0,23 KWH yang dibutuhkan untuk 1 kilometer. Kemudian ini jarak tempuh hariannya 190 km, untuk bis sedangnya 202, bis kecilnya 184 km. Ini konsumsi energinya Pak, dari bis besar 200, untuk bis sedang 98, dan bis kecil 43. Kecepatan pengisian untuk bis besar KWH per menitnya 1,46, kemudian bis sedang 1,20 KWH per menit, kalau bus kecil 0,42. Ini pun karena charging stationnya pun berbeda-beda. Untuk bus besar dia menggunakan yang 100, adalah kalau yang sedang itu 80, jangan yang kecil itu yang 50. Durasi pengisiannya seperti ini Pak, 66 opportunity-nya, overnight-nya harus 27. Kemudian yang sedang itu opportunity-nya 45, sedangkan overnight-nya 44. Kemudian yang bus kecil 56 opportunity-nya, sedangkan overnight-nya 53. Total kilometer operasi selama 3 bulan kita coba 52.540 km. Total konsumsi energinya 32.441 KWH. Lanjut. Ini kita bandingkan diesel dan listrik. Ternyata selama 3 bulan pengoperasan bus listrik dibandingkan diesel mengurangi emisi bus listrik sekitar 33% dan mengurangi biaya energi sebesar 87%. Jadi kami sampaikan bahwa dari perbandingan penggunaan bahan bakar fosil dan elektrik dapat dilihat bahwa dengan penggunaan di kami menggunakan Dexlight, bukan solar. Ada Dexlight ini kami membutuhkan kilometer tempuh 200 km dengan pemakaian BBM 1:2 dengan harga BBM 14.550 rupiah. Kebutuhan anggarannya biayanya 1.455.000. Kalau solar kami butuh 680.000. Apabila menggunakan listrik untuk bus besar, itu perbandingan listrik dengan Dexlight-nya 25%. Kemudian dengan biosolar 53%, karena biosolar memang sangat murah. Di angka 6.800, sedangkan Dexlight-nya di angka 14.550. Jadi bisa, kalau dibandingkan dengan biosolar bisa 53%. Kemudian bus sedang, ini yang 8 meter, 9 meter, ini dengan panjang 8 meter, 9 meter, perbandingannya 12% dengan Dexlight, dengan biosolar 25%. Kemudian untuk yang kecil dengan Dexlight hanya tipis 5%. Ini yang untuk mikrolet, sedangkan dengan biosolar 11%. dengan biaya KWH rupiah per KWH di angka 1.699 per KWH dengan tax rate 16.350. Lanjut.
Mohon agak cepat ya Pak.
Oke. Kemudian kebijakan pemerintah bahwa berdasarkan instruksi Presiden nomor 7 untuk percepatan pelaksanaan program dengan teknologi berbasis baterai dapat berhubungan dengan atau dengan perorangan dinas pemerintah pusat dan daerah. Kemudian edaran wali kota pemerintah kota Surabaya tanggal 17 Oktober 2023 terkait usulan semua kendaraan roda 2 kemudian ditindaklanjuti dengan usul Bapak Wali Kota bahwa rencana penggunaan roda 2 untuk operasional di kota Surabaya menggunakan bahan bakar listrik. Lanjut. Ini transisi implementasi bus listrik kota Surabaya, Pak. Ini kajian transisi bus listrik kita laksanakan sampai April, kemudian pemilihan operator Mei sampai Juli, kemudian persiapan implementasi Agustus sampai Oktober, operasional bus listriknya kita mulai November Desember. Saya rasa itu, terima kasih Bapak, monggo bantuannya Pak Ijul untuk bisa ditransliterasi.
Baik, terima kasih banyak Pak Tunjung. Thank you very much for your very nice presentation, and for participants that there was a nice presentation from Pak Tunjung. He said that the trial for electric bus has been in place for 3 months, and then there is allocation fund for the purchasing of electric bus and the system, and then next year, by this year, there will be implementation for electric bus, and also there is empowerment endorsement from the government that the electric vehicle is not only for bus but also for 4-wheelers and 2-wheelers. Thank you, Pak Tunjung, for the presentation. And then we move to the next presentation from Pak Stefan Arman. He is a technical director from Laksana Bus Manufacturer, the bus builder in Indonesia, and he got academical background from Purdue University in United States, for both Bachelor of Science and Master of Science with magna summa cum laude grade. And he will deliver his presentation in his company's commitment to sustainable transportation.
Pameran ini merupakan satu-satunya pameran yang mendatangkan banyak audiens dari luar negeri. Itu memang salah satu nilai plusnya dari pameran ini. Selain potensi customer, kita juga melihat beberapa vendor atau supplier yang kita bertemu berkenalan di pameran ini. Dengan adanya Buzzworld Southeast Asia di Indonesia ini, saya kira sangat bagus sekali untuk industri bus di Indonesia, karena benar-benar bisa memperkenalkan produk-produk Indonesia ke ajang internasional, terutama yang memang berhubungan langsung dengan dunia bus. Jadi memang sangat tepat sasaran.
Okay, Pak Stefan, the floor is yours.
Hold on. Thank you, Paizu. So let me share my presentation. So yeah, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate this webinar today. So I think we all know that the era of electric buses is indeed fascinating, especially for the bus industry in Indonesia. And here in Laksana, we firmly believe that the electric transportation technology is one of the most suitable application that should be implemented for urban bus usage. So today in the webinar, I'm very happy to have a discussion together with all the right representative. We have the representative from the user side, and then the operators, the expertise in the city planning. And for myself, representing the provider of the electric buses itself. And there are definitely many challenges for Indonesia to transition from ICE to EV bus, starting from the challenges of financial support, as well as the availability of the infrastructure for charging, including both the charging station and the electric grid support. However, I believe this transition is crucial for Indonesia to have a sustainable, environmental friendly transportation system. So as a local bus manufacturer in Indonesia, whether it's electric buses or the internal combustion engine based buses, one of the greatest challenge we face is consistently being able to produce various different types and sizes of bus with relatively low production volumes. I believe that the bus industry, both in Indonesia and also globally, largely shares this characteristic of low volumes but high demand for flexibility. So as you can see from this slide, that you can see these are all the city buses that we have produced, and it's being operated all over the cities in Indonesia. And in Indonesia, it's also a very highly diverse country, and each city is exhibiting different characteristics in terms of road condition, the traffic patterns, and the availability of infrastructure for both the buses and also the pedestrians. This diversity is evident in the wide range of urban bus variants that we have produced. So you can see here we have produced the 12-meter to 13-meter up to 18-meter bus. And then the bus can also be equipped with the high floor platform or the low entry platform with different types of specification, different location, and number of doors on each side of the bus. So for cities like Jakarta, for example, where there is a dedicated white lanes for the BRT systems. So in Jakarta, we have seen a lot of 12 to 13 meters with high floor designs are more suitable for Jakarta. Conversely, in cities like Bandung or Bogor, which is characterized by narrower roads and lacking dedicated lines, medium-sized buses featuring a low entry access are deemed more suitable. However, in cities like Semarang, where high floor stations are already established, both 12-meter buses and medium-sized buses with high floor entry access are considered suitable options. And as shown in Bapak Tunjung's presentation before, that Surabaya has opted for the 12-meter low entry bus with multiple door access on each side of the bus. So basically you can see and feel the high variety of buses that's being adopted by different cities in Indonesia. Now with the coming era of electric bus, one additional crucial aspect that needs to be planned is the outset of route planning, which is involving doing a calculation to do the range estimation and its correlation on battery capacities of the electrical bus unit. So comprehensive and well thought of planning involving all stakeholders becomes even more critical in the initial stage of implementing electric bus. In the end, all these different requirements from the size of the bus, the type of accessibility, the needs to have, and route planning will be the most important process that needs to be done in beginning. Since 2018, Laksana has been continuously developing urban bus product with significant difference in terms of the vehicle weight and its durability. I believe these two aspects are one of the most important aspects of building electric buses. In terms of weight, it is crucial, especially in Indonesia, because up until now, there hasn't been any change in the regulation regarding the maximum allowable vehicle weight. For medium bus, which is the limit is 8 tons, and for the 12-meter bus is 16 tons, which applies to both the ICE and also the EV bus. As you may notice that with the EV bus, it carries about 2 to 3 tons of battery. So the platform itself for the EV bus is usually in average about 2 to 3 tons heavier than the ICE-based platform. So to comply with the regulation on maximum vehicle weight limit without significantly reducing the passenger capacity, one way is to utilize lightweight bus design and materials. The lifespan of the electric bus is also very crucial to maximize. Electric buses, despite of their higher initial investment, have the advantage over the ICE buses in terms of lower total life cycle costs. However, to be able to reap the benefits of this total lower life cycle costs, electric buses should ideally operate for about 13 to 15 years, or twice as long as the ICE buses. Back in 2018, we designed and produced our first lightweight bus body that reduced the weight by approximately 1.5 tons. And this bus also marked the first use of strong and corrosion-resistant stainless steel structure, both in Laksana and also in Indonesia. And in the following years, in 2020, we used this design and this material to produce the 8 unit of Surabaya buses that is still running in Surabaya right now. So this is one way of us to make sure that we are ready for the transition to electric bus in the future. So the next challenges that we face as the bus body manufacturer is the production process of electric bus itself. So recently there has been a lot of discussion in Indonesia about the LFP and the NMC battery technology. And of course, each of these battery have its own advantages and disadvantages. And I believe in the future, the battery technology will evolve and improve. And but one thing for certain is that these batteries are very expensive and pose a quite significant fire risk. Therefore, it is very crucial to pay attention to safe and proper battery handling during the production processes. As we are all aware from recent reports in the news, there has been several incidents of electric bus fires, and the consequences of such events can be far more severe compared to the ICE buses. So it is very important for us in Laksana to adapt our production processes, as well as giving the right training to the production operators to prevent any hazardous incidents happening. And that is why right now we are in the project of expanding our production line facility. We are designing a dedicated production facility for electric bus in the future. So in conclusion, Laksana has proven a solution over the years, supplying city buses with different types of bus bodies. We are committed to support Indonesia in its transition to electric bus by preparing a world-class manufacturing facility for lightweight, durable electric bus body in the coming years. So what's the strategy to tackle these challenges? First, I think collaboration is important. It is essential to bring together all stakeholders from various sectors, be it governmental bodies, the bus manufacturers, operators, city planners, expertise, to develop solutions that provide the unique needs of each cities. Additionally, practical considerations such as establishment of charging infrastructure and the manufacturing standard for these EV buses is something that needs to be pay attention to. So undoubtedly, addressing these challenges requires concerted effort. However, with collaborative initiative, innovative thinking, and determination, I'm confident that Indonesian transition to use the electric bus in the future will be a smooth one. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Stefan, for very nice and compact presentation, very inspirative for us. And I will now maybe conclude first. There will be a question and answer then. And now we move to the next presentation by Pak Andi Utario. He is from Mayasari Bakti, one of the largest bus operator in Indonesia. Pak Andi actually hold a doctoral degree from Brawijaya University in Malang in Faculty of Administrative Science, and previously he has a Master of Business Administration from BPM Institute of Management and also Bandung Institute of Technology for his bachelor degree in Faculty of Industrial Engineering. Prior to joining Mayasari Bakti Utama, he was head of foundation in Pinasarana Global Foundation, and so many companies he has joined before. So I will not waste any more time anymore. So please, Pak Andi, time is yours. Give the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Izo. Thank you very much for the buzzword Southeast Asia that give me a good opportunity that we can meet in the webinar, that we can sharing and discussions related to the implementations and also the challenges of the operations and the strategy for the development of the electric buses. Good afternoon, Pak Tunjung, Pak Yoga, Pak Bakili, Pak Stefan, sahabat saya, and all of participants or attendants in the seminar. I will share my presentations. Ejo, can you see our presentations?
Yes, Pak. All good.
Okay. Thank you, Pak. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoons. PT Mayasari Bakti actually was established in 1964. So they have operated before I was born, and we already operate busway since 2006. And as informations, we are now operate in the cooperation with Transjakarta in the existing busway, our busways, 52 electric vehicle buses and also 389 non-electric buses. And of course, part of our strategy and our programs, we have to learn and to adopt when we implement the EV buses. And also we learn about the technology development and the roadmap for the 10,000 EV buses in the 6 years. This is our some data that we can share. The implementation that we have done to operate 52 units BYD electric buses is our brand. We use BYD. First operations is 30 units in 2022, and then the next is 22 units on June 2023. And in the contracts, because we have contracts with the Transjakarta, the target for the operations is 71,540 kilometers per year, or we can see per day is around 196 kilometers per bus per day. And the actual average kilometer operation per day is around 194 kilometers per bus. So we can achieve more than 99% to the target for the daily operation of the buses. As informations, energy consumptions is around 0.91 kilometer per kWh, or we can say 1.099 kWh per kilometers. As informations, our 52 units of buses average cost of electricity per bus is 180,000 rupiah per bus per day. This is the data related to our EV buses. We also built our depot with the charging stations because we have to prepare the infrastructure of the charging stations. We have 15 units of charging stations with the charging capacity per unit is 2 multiplied by 100 kilowatt per unit. And also we have the electricity capacity more than 4 megawatts, and the battery capacity of the bus, the BYD bus, is a K9 low floors is a 324 kWh. And because we do the target to serve the routes in the Transjakarta, especially in the non-dedicated line, like busway high floors. So we do the charging operations around 10 PM to 4 PM every day. Charging speeds, because we are using the fast chargings is 1% per minute, and average for the one bus we can fulfill the battery around 75 minutes per bus. Bus operations around from 4 AM to 12 AM at night. And also, as we mentioned before, we operate not in the dedicated line of the busway, but in the common line. For example, in the route is from Pondok Labu to Blok M, Kampung Melayu Tanah Abang, and UI and Lebak Bulus. This is the data for the comparisons of our operation based on our experiences. Diesel buses, we have 333 diesel buses. It's divided of two kinds of buses, maxi buses and also single buses. And average, we use the data is 220 kilometers per day. Average energy cost, the range is 750,000 rupiah per bus until 850,000 rupiah per bus per day. Why there's a difference? Because there is a single buses and also the maxi buses. So is the specification, the length of the buses is a difference. And then we also has CNG buses, is 56 units, and is the articulated buses. And also we built the body in Laksana, and average kilometer per day is 222 kilometers. How about the energy cost? Is around 1,200,000. And now we operate the 52 electric buses. Average kilometer per day, as Perpres I mentioned, is 194 kilometers. And the cost for the average energy cost is around 180,000 rupiah. So based on the three tables, we can see there are efficiency in the daily operations between EV buses compared to diesel buses. In this table, we can use the single buses and also the CNG buses. We have three kinds of ICE energy, that diesel, CNG, and electricity. What is the challenge? What is the problem then when we operate the electric buses? Yeah, of course, we live in the roads, so the first problem is accidents. And also we face minor problem like air conditions. As Stefan mentioned, how to protect the air conditions. Yeah, we have some problem related with the air conditions, and also the minor problem with the engines and telematics. Ladies and gentlemen, we operate the bus with the support from the dealers or the APM with the contract and services. So every spare part, every maintenance, we depend on the dealers. We depend on factory who produce the BYD. And based on our experience, more than 1 year operate the EV buses, the state of health of the battery is still 100%, and the state of charge of the battery is 25.6%. We have efficient in daily operations. Our achievement travel miles or kilometers based on the contracts, based on the plan, based on operation plannings is 99.07%. Our challenge related to the kilometer empty. Yeah, we have some conditions when we do contract with the Transjakarta. How about the challenge or the problem we face in the diesel and CNG buses, especially the achievement of travel miles or kilometers based on contracts? Why we mention about that? Because it's part of the commitment between contract between us and Transjakarta. And the contract and the target of kilometers, it will influence directly to our projections. Our projection, what is projections? Our projection with the financial projection and also for our operation strategy. So if the achievement of travel miles or kilometer is lower than the target, that is our challenge. That is our problem, because we have to face and we have to pay our obligations to the bank or to the investors or to the multi-finance that they don't want to understand if our kilometer below the target. But everything has to be improved in the future to fulfill the commitment based on the contract. The challenge also the kilometer empty. Based on the 3 columns of the tables, diesel buses, CNG buses, electric buses, we hope it's not it's just questions in the floors, Zul, and also from the buzzword. We hope we do not think that we're returning again from EV buses to diesel buses, because we face about the high investment of the EV buses to the short. So there is a thinking that the short-term solutions, maybe we have to consider again to come back or to back to use the diesel buses. That is the challenges. But there is the data, we have efficient in daily operations, and we can compare between the CNG, diesel, and EV buses. Next, we talk about the challenge of the EV buses. In the previous, the moderators mentioned about the target in the 6 years of the 10,000 buses, electric buses in 6 years. And the second challenge is high investment. The third challenge, we said about the financial support. And the fourth challenge is related to the push factors. First challenge, we do the calculations. Now, if a bus is operation in Jakarta, Maesari Bakti operates 52 units with the BYD buses, Damri 26 units with Skywell, BMP, Biang Lala 22 units with the Golden Dragons. Total 100 units. If you see the brand all comes from the Chinese company, Chinese factory. B, Transjakarta will plan to operate 200 units EV buses, high floors in 2024. For example, we do some simple calculations. We have 100 operates in Jakarta. The next is 200. For example, 30 in other cities or 40 in plantations in private. I got the numbers is 370 units. Let's say we assume that in 2024, we have 400 until 450 units EV buses. That is the challenge. 400 to 450 units to 10,000 units. is a challenging number, challenging multiplying, challenging percentage that we have to achieve. And also we have to calculate is the only big bus or medium bus and also a small bus like this. Challenge number 2, based on our experience, we have high investment. Who makes the investment? Pak Tunjung has explained very well in the first presentations. Is it the municipal government to invest, or central governments, or state-owned company, municipal company, or private bus operator? We do investment. We do the electric buses. The price is so high. I don't know, because I don't have any backgrounds with the technical aspect related with the bus, why we don't consider about the hybrid bus, just a question. And also the investment we have to face that as a bus operator, we have to invest in depot. We have to invest in charging station. We have to increase electricity capacities and others. Is all the cost that we have to prepare for the infrastructure cost. How about the government? I think for the bus operator, bus charging station. Also in the process, we have to face to prepare the working capitals and maybe to repayment to the banks and to reinvestment costs. And the C, we have to think about the replacement cost. For example, existing bus that I mentioned before, we have more than 300 ICE buses, and we have to change to electric buses, and it's not small numbers, it's a big number that very challenges. And also about the battery management. Some factory only give guarantee around 7 to until 8 years for the battery. We don't know what will happen after 8 years. We have to do investment more, or we can make some calculation or some preparation to face the next 6 or 8 years in front. Challenge number 3, financial support. According to our experiences, we have things as the bus operators, how we can make a bank or multi-finance or maybe investor confidence to the bus operators. Bankability 5C. And also maybe in the webinar there are some bank participant or bank attendants. We have two things that maybe debt equity ratio of the loans. How about the interest? So we as bus operator can consider get the subsidy. How about the tenor of the loans? And how about the collateral? Is there any additional collateral for the banks that ask to the bus operators? How about the feasibility study? And it's related with the contracts. For example, based on our experience in Jakarta, it's based on the contracts for 10 years contract or 7 years contracts about the kilometers that we have to achieve per years, per 7 years, and per 10 years, because the kilometer target is very effective to our business plan and our financial projection that the bank asks for bus operator to fulfill that. And then the operation income, of course, yeah, I think it's very rare that if there are the big investment like this comes from the equity part, needs loan from the bank or need loan from the investor or multi-finance. So we have to fulfill bank obligation. We have to fulfill operation costs. We have to fulfill maintenance costs. And maybe after 7 to 8 years, we have to fulfill how bad we pay the replacement or renew of the battery, because the battery is very high compared with the total price of the buses. Maybe 60 or 65% the price of the buses is part of the battery cost. And of course, the challenge number 3 is we have to do like a good joint operations between bus operator, dealer, factory support, and also bodybuilder to make joint operation. How to make or to reduce the cost of the investment of the buses. And also, for example, if there is a mobility as a service, we have to consider how between the company that serve as mobility as a service can do risk sharing. For example, the calculation rupiah per kilometer based on the contracts, who is responsible to get the money from that is bus operators, mobility as a service, and etc. And mirroring to the contracts, hopefully not just as a rental company, because it's the obligation comes again to the bus operators. And sometimes bus operators depend on the operation side when we get the duty from the Jalan Jakarta. That is the very related to the financial support and financial feasibility.
Pak Andi, please speed up the presentation, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Pak. Challenge number 4 is related to the government role because we have 10,000 units. The alternative is to procure huge number of EV bus from government spendings. We have to think about that. Build massive infrastructures, not responsible of bus operator. And how about the subsidy and interest rate like that? And of course, we have to face and collaboration between bus factory dealers, bodybuilder, and everything to minimum lead time and supply capabilities. We have also faced the challenge point-to-point transportation like motorcycle and car. That's its conclusions. First, the challenge is like the financial capacity are the key. And the second, we have to think about the push factor, regulation, and roadmap, clear roadmap for the EV buses. And the third is related to the cost, investment until the working capital. And of course, the fourth conclusion, we have to think about the technology development. How about the selection of bus, pass the testing, battery management, or maybe we back on the diesel buses again. And the fifth, we have the government bus operators and related stakeholders have to be ready to implement EV buses for our better futures. The sixth, collaborations and consistency are the key of success. Thank you very much. Hopefully it's very understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Andi, for the presentation. I think the challenges are very clear in terms of operational, maintenance, and financial things, Pak. Yeah? Okay, we will have better Q&A maybe in the future. So now we move to last but not least, Pak Yoga Adiwinarto is from Kalista, one of the EV operator in Indonesia, right, Pak? He's an advisor in that company, and previously he has so many titles. And okay, I don't waste time anymore. So please, time is yours, Pak Yoga.
Thank you, Faisal. So good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, wherever your locations are. So my name is Yoga. I'm currently serving as the advisor for the Kalista. Yeah, so just to clarify, Kalista is not a EV operator per se, but it's actually been mentioned by Pak Andi before, with the what he called mobility as a service. Sorry, can you hear can you see my screen, Pak Izo?
Not yet, Pak.
Oh, okay. Let me just.
It's like a blur something.
Okay, let me start again. Right. Okay. Let's see if it's. How about now?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
great.
It,
yeah. So yeah, thanks a lot for inviting us to this event. All of the speakers and also even the moderators are my close friends. Pak Tunjung, the head of Disub Surabaya, Pak Stefan, Pak Andi, and also Pak Izo, who's my close friend when we were in serving in Transjakarta altogether. So this is basically I think this is the last presentation, which kind of like a sum up the challenges. Pak Andi has clearly sum up all the challenges as the operator, and hopefully with my presentation, with Kalista, we can be maybe one of the solutions, at least how to accelerate the electrification in public transport. Right. So just to why Kalista exists. So Kalista is a relatively new company. We were established in 2023, mid 2023 last year. So we see as a fleet operator, there are so many pressure to move towards a zero emission vehicle, as Pak Andi already mentioned, but also Pak Tunjung pointed out. There are a couple of plans that the government has. So so the operator has to keep up. But Pak Andi already clearly mentioned what some of the challenges, and obviously the transitioning to EV fleet has never been easy. I mean, Andi clearly mentioned about the 4 challenges, and I think how the Kalista will come will sort of like answer that. So we see that the challenges that the operator and also the government in this case, as Surabaya Pak Tunjung mentioned before, we see that the 4 challenges in the EV operation, if you will, is the stages of the planning. How you select the technology, what kind of fleet that you use, the battery capacity, the power source, and everything like that. The charging, power charging unit. And our second thing is the financing. How do we actually finance this? I think Maesari Bakti is one of the very few operators that has good bankability rate. Quoting the Pak Andi's statement about 5C, characters and others. So Maesari Bakti tick all the boxes, but not all operators, even in Transjakarta, not all the bus operators kind of like tick all the boxes there. So maybe a few of them are not qualified or eligible to to go to financing, especially on the bank. Operation also the same. Once sure we have the benefit for the cost and everything, but you also need to take care of the charging, for example, the charging time. Comparing to the ICE, the diesel bus, where you only need like maybe 20 to 30 minutes to refill with the queue. But this one for ICE, so for EV, you probably need like 1 hour, 1.5 hour, to actually charge fully battery. And also post operation, how do we make sure that after the service life, the buses are sort of like taken care of, the battery are kind of like being recycled and so on. So this is basically where Kalista came. That we are as Indica. So before I explain about Kalista in detail, I just want to explain that this is actually part of the Indica Energy. So we are a subsidiary of Indica Energy that has a mission to achieve the net zero emission by 2050. And the Indica Energy also have a target to increase the non-coal revenue to up to 50% by 2025. So next year, the idea is that to make sure that the coal revenue, the non-coal revenue, from the green initiatives and everything, really increase, so that it can sum up to the 50%. Indica Energy has a transition, from the old business as the coal, in the left-hand side, to the future of Indica Energy to unlock the sustainable development in Indonesia. So one of the area that the Indica group focus on is the renewable energy, green economies, and EV mobility, or what we call it the nature solutions. So here we have the Alpha, for example, the motorcycle, the EV motorcycle. We also have Invi, our bus distributor, and also Kalista. So this group focusing on make sure that the nature solutions portfolio is increased in the next couple of years. So Kalista is a fleet as a service. We actually come to make sure that the operator and the government, all the pain points that are currently faced to adopt EV are handled by us. So yes, we are what we call the fleet as a service. Are we a rental company? Not only that, but we call ourselves a fleet as a service company, where we provide the total solutions from the planning, the operation, maintenance, financing, all the way of the, after the after service as well. The focus not only the bus, but we also have a three sort of like a sub company where we focus on the motorcycles. So rental motorcycle or fleet as a service for motorcycle. We focus also on the EV, but the four-wheeler, and also the charging station. So the charger also. So then we want to make sure that Kalista also came as the ecosystem provider. So not only focusing on the fleet, but also the charging station as well. So the group aims to accelerate EV by focusing on the planning. So we're not just focusing on the rental or lease. We focus on the planning. We want to make sure that the business model is sound. We want to make sure that the route and operational plan. That's why when we did a trial with Surabaya with Pak Tunjung, we want to make sure that government are having the first-hand data when they before they implement the EV in their city. So after the lease, we also provide the charging infrastructure, so that the depot charging and also the charging on the go. So i.e. the what we call the opportunity charging, if you will. And also we want to make sure that we handle the maintenance, because as a service provider, we want to make sure that our customer we promise is uptime. So they want to we want to make sure that their productivity is up. And also, they always have a bus ready to go. So, the energy management, we also want to focus on advising them how to make sure the energy, consumption is being safe, and, how the pattern of the driving and everything like that kind of like manage. So how we see Kalista came. So we see that I think this the box on the left-hand side, that's the journey that my Saribakti had to go. So fleet. Pak Andi, I'm sure that he and his team, when Transjakarta gave the contract for the EV, they have to look for the fleet. What kind of fleet are suitable? What about the chargers? What about the financing? How about the after sales maintenance, all the insurance? And also the drivers, obviously, as a bus operator. And then, what about the secondary market? After the contract finish, how do I make sure that there is a market to kind of like, reselling. But so with Kalista, the operator doesn't have to worry about that anymore. So focusing on interacting with Kalista, and the only thing that you have to provide as a bus operator is the driver and the depot. And the remaining will be handled by us. So, the charger, the financing, after sales, the fleet, that's basically our responsibility, even including the secondary market as well. That is why in our ecosystem, we are supported by many, bus OEM, from the small fleet like Angkot, to medium bus, all the way to the big bus. We also have the chargers ecosystem. So we have a partnership with charger OEM and also charging operators to support that. We also have a multiple source from the financing to support our operation, to finance the project. So currently we focus on, at least in the city transportation, we focus on city transport, buses, shuttle transport, intercity transfer, and also the Angkot. So that will be our strong focus in the next 2 to 3 years. And also we focus on make sure that the insurance, IoT installation on fleets, uptime management, and so on and so forth are also included, including the driver training. So we just not rental the bus, but we wanna give the data to the operator that they can be improved, how the driver can be improved, so then the accident can be avoided, or the energy can be saved on that. So within the in less than 1 year, we have established our presence in 6 plus city. 6 city, but some of the other clients. So we have a project with the Transjakarta, but also we have a trial project just finished earlier this month with Surabaya, and we are currently doing the trial, piloting in West Java or Bandung, and also in Medan City. We just finished the trial also in IKN in Nusantara. So all of those area, and we're currently building one also in Bogor. So the idea is that we want to make sure that before city going to implement fully, they get a taste for the trial to see how the operation will be shaped. So that gives the city better time to do the planning. So they know when to do where to put the charging station, what kind of battery that needs to be provided, and so on. So this is kind of like our sort of picture on how we see the ecosystem will focus. So Calista aims to implement this picture, how we have all the ecosystem is handled by us. So for example, there is a motorcycle with the rental with Alpha. We have the charging station with our partner, and we have the like the for example the buses are provided and also the medium minibuses. So we aim that in each of the cities, for example, in Surabaya, Medan, Bandung, and Bogor, we aim to make sure that the ecosystem is established, but also develop in the future for the acceleration of EV. So we, in this occasion, I would just like to invite, let's, for those of you who would like to transition to EV, let's grow, your EV business together. So how we do it, like, we want to make sure that there is a discovery meeting, proposal presentation and so on, and also pilot launch. So we want to make sure that we're not just like selling stuff, but we want to advise you from day one, if you have a plan, then we can make that come into reality, together with you. I think that's pretty much it. You can, check out our website and also our Instagram. But yeah, we look forward to have a more discussion with you all. Thank you, Pak Rizal.
Okay, thank you, Pak Yoga. Very nice presentation. You have delivered so many advisory. So for some cities, the company, and now it's golden time for participants to give a question to the speakers. If the time is yours, the participants, please mention your name and your institution. Otherwise, I will read the question from the chat. No question directly from the audience? Okay, I think we need some trigger from the chat. That for the first question is from Pak Untan ya, dan Pak Slamet dari from Untan Universitas Pontianak. Yeah, what kind of characteristic must be fulfilled to develop the electric bus in Pontianak around 700,000 inhabitant? Network road type is radial modified. Oh, it's lost. And then number two, for Pak Stefan, yeah. Question on the fast-paced development of technology, batteries, etc. How does Laksana keep up and recommend this evolution, especially with the value of second-hand bus and financing associated with it? Can the bus be refurbished with newer batteries or BMS? Pak Stefan, could you please?
To answer the questions, I think I want to make clear that Laksana business model has been, and for the future will be, one that we always collaborate with the partner who supplies the platform or the chassis. So in this case, we have been working together with BYDs, with Hyundai, with other brands, with Mercedes, Hino, and other. So the part for supplying the battery will be borne by the chassis or the platform suppliers. So I think this is definitely a challenge. The battery will continually evolve and developing, but I'm pretty sure right now the battery that exists has, I think, the right and enough technology to be able to run for most of the cities in Indonesia. As for the refurbished bus with newer batteries, I think that can be done easily. At this moment, when we do projects with different chassis maker, different platforms, we are forced to relocate the battery. Some of them are on the top of the roof, some of them are underneath the floor. So retrofitting the refurbished buses with newer batteries shouldn't be a problem. I believe it is something that needs to be handled carefully, of course. But I think in times there will be a good learning curve that we can do. Pak Izul, suaranya belum ada.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Pak Stefan, for your feedback. I think the next one is mohon izin Pak Tunjung, apakah masih berada di tempat?
Masih Pak, masih Pak.
Ya Pak, ini ada pertanyaan Pak, bagaimanakah peran pemerintah untuk membantu perusahaan angkutan umum dalam menyediakan bus listrik? Apakah ada, karena kan ada investasi yang cukup tinggi ini, pertanyaan dari titipan dari Damri Pak ini di kolom chat Pak, apakah berkenan? Monggo Pak.
Iya Pak. Jadi peran pemerintah, terutama pemerintah daerah di sini Pak ya, sangat penting. Terutama sekarang menyangkut pembiayaan Pak. Terus terang saja untuk daerah-daerah yang memang yang PNB-nya mengingat harga bus listrik ini mungkin bisa 2 kali yang biasa Pak. Karena terkait juga dengan PSU yang apabila penumpangnya tidak banyak, tentunya makin tinggi PSU dari pemerintah gitu, atau subsidinya. Jadi harapannya memang itu benar oleh pemerintah dalam hal ini Mas Firman untuk kira-kira demand-nya yang nanti bisa di-create atau demand ekstrim dan akan yang di-create itu bisa mencapai berapa, sehingga harapannya dengan beroperasinya bus listrik ini tidak terlalu besar namanya subsidinya. Karena Surabaya juga sudah menghitung itu karena kalau yang biasa kita 70% untuk subsidi, terus masalah besar. Mungkin itu Pak yang bisa kami sampaikan.
Baik Pak, terima kasih Pak Tunjung. So we have to collaborate ya Pak between government and operator and all stakeholders to deliver EV bus in the field. So the next one is for Pak Andi Pak ya. Ini for Adrian Tiratama. Yeah, he asked about the high floor medium bus, maxi bus, and articulated bus operated in Transjakarta BRT, serviced by Mayasari Bakti. Why all of mentioned bus types are still using diesel CNG in contrast to medium low-deck bus in Metro Trans service? Do Mayasari have intention to replace those bus with EV bus? If yes, when will Mayasari start the project and what are the challenges that Mayasari would face? Thank you, Pak Andi. Monggo, Pak.
Thank you, Pak Igor. Yeah, why our buses like the articulated buses and maxi buses and single buses is still using the ICE-based or the diesel or the CNG is because we have still in the contract between Transjakarta and Mayasari Bakti. Maybe after at the end of the contracts, we have to consider to replace the EV bus, but it depends on the policy of the Transjakarta in the future for the bus transportation in DKI Jakarta. That's why in my presentation we mentioned about the roadmap and not come back again to the diesels. And the third, of course, we have to calculate about the opportunity loss because we have some deficits, mileage or kilometers regarding to the contracts of the kilometers between Mayasari Bakti and Transjakarta. But Mayasari Bakti as a bus operator, and especially we have to make good discussion also with Pak Yoga. We ready and will support net zero emission in Jakarta with to fulfill the electric buses. Thank you, Pak Yoga.
Thank you, Pak Andi. And Pak Yoga, I think you can give your opinion, Pak, based on your expertise. Are there any difficulties for companies in the bus industry to get access to batteries to develop electric buses, Pak? I believe that you have so many experience from your previous.
Yeah. So as Pak Tunjung and Pak Andi clearly mentioned that the EV needs the like a high investment. Pak Tunjung already mentioned twice the investment cost. But there should be currently at least personally I just don't see the incentive is big enough for the end user, i.e. the bus operator in this case. So if for example, bus operators, when they buy the buses, they just buy the actual price, whereas when we see the car passengers, car user and also motorcycle users, they can easily access the sort of 10% discount, or at least last year for cars. So this kind of incentive, I think, needs to also be pushed into public transport. Obviously, public transport has widened, wider and also more of sort of affordable. The benefit is large, and especially when you talk about the small and medium enterprise like angkot operators. The benefit not only obtained by the passengers, but also the business owners and also the drivers and so on. So I think the multiplier effect can be high, and obviously, and also the the net zero target. So I think the government needs to also when I said the government, like for example, Pak Tunjung is not actually for Pak Tunjung, because the city, for example, Jakarta, Surabaya, already committed to the subsidizing the public transport. But I think the national government in this case, the Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Industry, they need to step up more. What about the subsidy for public transport operators? To accelerate for EV development or EV implementation. So I think if the answer, I think all the operators, all the public transport vehicles should shift to EV, but they cannot do it without any incentive, without any push, from the government. And the reason why government should support this, because they already gave the support, for the tax incentive of tax percent, also the 10% last year. So then we can afford more, at least 10% cheaper for public for cars and also motorcycle. So yeah, so I think that's how I see this, Faisal.
Excellent, Pak. Thank you. And I think it's time for audience. If any direct question from all of you guys. If not, I think since our time is so very limited, I will ask like a closing statement from each of you, Pak. Pak Tunjung, barangkali mohon berkenan Pak untuk kata penutup Pak yang paling pas untuk memberikan kesimpulan kira-kira nih tentang kondisi dan tantangan electric bus kita nih ke depannya seperti apa Pak. Mohon Pak secara singkat. Terima kasih Pak.
Ya, oke, terima kasih Pak. Jadi ini terima kasih sekali terkait dengan
betul.
Oke. Maaf, ini koneksinya terputus. Jadi dari saya terima kasih bisa mengisi acara webinar di sini. Harapannya semua daerah tetap semangat. Kalau kita lihat memang dengan menggunakan listrik tentunya banyak yang bisa diefisiensi, terutama dari segi satu biaya, di mana pemerintah daerah ini mempunyai kekuatan yang berbeda-beda. Jadi harapannya dengan listrik kita dapat menciptakan angkutan massal yang lebih efisien, kemudian lebih bersih dengan lingkungan yang baik. Saya rasa itu, terima kasih Bapak. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, audience, Pak Tunjung already stated that we have to make efficiency from this program, from EV bus, instead of only environmental aspect. Okay, and the next one is Pak Stefan. Please, Pak, your, I think, closing remarks for this.
Yes, again, I would like to use this opportunity to say thanks to Pak Bakili, all the participants for giving the opportunity and the discussion today. Again, we are in Laksana, we believe that the transition to electric vehicles, especially for buses, I think it's the move to the right direction. I think buses, especially the city buses, is one of the area where electric vehicles can be implemented very effectively. And Laksana, we are very support, and we have committed to support that move to transition to electric buses. Of course, there are challenges on every side, but we are committed to help out to make sure that we can collaborate together and go through with the transition smoothly. Thank you.
Right, Pak. Hopefully, we do hope so with your wish. And then Pak Andi, please, Pak, your speak.
Thank you, Pak Ijo. In this nice moment, I have to say thanks for the buzzword and Pak Bakili and everybody and participants and also the speakers in this event. In my opinion, as the bus operators, as mentioned by Pak Tunjung and also Pak Yoga, we have the challenge for the electric buses is related to the investments. It's very high investments, not only for the bus itself, but also for the infrastructures. We also need government support as a push factors if we want to achieve 10,000 units in 6 years in the EV buses. And also in my presentation, I also said about the roadmap. Please focus, commit, and consistent to achieve the roadmap of the electricity for the good environments and for the reduce net zero emission to achieve in the future. We have to do collaborations and we have to be consistent to apply our strategy. And we have to choose suitable technology for the EV buses that can serve not only for Jakarta or Surabaya, but all of the city in Indonesia. We have doing together, and we can do it for the good environment in the future. Thank you, Pak.
Okay, thank you, Pak Andi. And again, last but not least, Pak Yoga, please your closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Izo. Yeah, thanks a lot for inviting me to this to Buswell Foundation and also GEM Indonesia. Yeah, as I said, that the transition to EV, has not been smoothly probably in Indonesia, especially in public transport. And as Andy mentioned, that we have to focus and we have to go through that. In Kalista, as we are committed as part of the Indica Energy to support to have a goal of the net zero by 2050. We have to make sure that the EV ecosystem is one of the things, our way is one of the way for us to achieve the net zero ambition goal. So yeah, hopefully, with Kalista in place, with collaboration with CD, with the bus manufacturer like Laksana and also good and strong operator like Maisari, together we can achieve all of those goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Yoga. And ladies and gentlemen, esteemed speakers and participants, as we draw to a close this enriching and insightful international seminar, I'm filled with gratitude for the engaging discussion, valuable contribution, and meaningful connection that have been forged throughout our time together this afternoon. The exchange of ideas and perspectives shared here today has undoubtedly enriched our understanding and paved the way for innovative solutions to the challenges we face for Indonesian electric bus. In conclusion, I want to say thank you a lot for the Busworld Southeast Asia, as well as Pak Bagili and all CAM team for having me here to moderate this beautiful seminar and discussion. Thank you. I will give back to Mbak Tiwi. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bapak Ahmad Izul. Thank you very much for this interesting session. All right, before we end today's webinar, let's listen together to the closing remarks that will be delivered by Mr. Rian Deman as Managing Director from Busworld Foundation. Please, Mr. Rian Deman, time is yours.
Thank you so much. And congratulations to all the speakers. We've known each other. It's good to see you again. Thanks to the audience. Let me briefly, as a closing remark, mention what you may expect at the Busworld Conference in Jakarta in the middle of May. 15th until 17th of May, we'll have Busworld there. Right. We notice that the electrification of the bus fleet worldwide is never going smoothly. It always comes with unexpected things that happen. And we see that all the parts of the puzzle, we come into a new entire ecosystem, which consists of different parts, a lot of new stakeholders. Well, every part of the puzzle works just fine. The vehicles work perfectly. The charging infrastructure works perfectly. The connection to the grid works perfectly. We have new contracts with insurance companies, with energy providers, etc. Problem comes when we start combining these parts of the puzzle and putting things together. And these are aspects that could never have been foreseen in purely theoretical studies or whatever. So that is why in the Busworld Conference in Jakarta in May, we will bring bus and fleet operators from over the globe who are further in the process of electrifying their fleet. We have the confirmation of Transport for London. We have the confirmation of the city of Hong Kong, who will bring speakers, operational directors of the PTAs, who are now running fleets of a couple of hundred electric buses. And it will be very interesting to hear from them how they electrified their fleet, what obstacles they encountered, and how they were solved. Right? We noticed, for example, that one brand of charging infrastructure can work perfectly fine with one brand of buses, since the software that organizes the communication between the two is adapted to one another. Problem comes when another brand of buses is coming into operations and needs to be charged with that same charging infrastructure. We notice that insurance companies are coming with a whole lot more criteria to ensure the safety of the buses inside the depot. We notice that a bus depot, where an electric bus fleet is operated, needs a surface increase of 20 to 30% at least, just to be able to run the same fleet. We noticed that the operations in London, for example, needed an increase of the bus fleets of 10 to 20% just to run the same operations, because the time for charging, etc., needs to be fulfilled. So when we are at the start of the electrification process, it will be very interesting to hear how these big world players have electrified their fleet, what problems they encountered, and they are willing to share really open books with all the operators that would come to Indonesia. So I definitely would like to invite all the major cities of Indonesia, all the PTAs, to come and listen to Transport for London, to come and listen what Hong Kong is saying, and how they have managed to electrify their fleet, etc., etc. So 15th and 16th of May, those speakers will be there, and I invite you all to be there as well. We will not have lots of ex-cathedra presentations. It will be very interactive. Please come with your questions. Send us your questions before, and I hope to see you there in Jakarta. So thank you so much. Congratulations again to all speakers for a really excellent webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yandeman. Terima kasih banyak kami ucapkan kepada seluruh pembicara serta moderator atas waktu dan materi yang sangat luar biasa pada hari ini. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who like to have the presentation materials, please access the link. Jika Anda membutuhkan materi dari para narasumber, silakan untuk dapat mengakses link yang ada di layar Anda. Alright, through this opportunity, we like to deliver our gratitude to Bapak Bakili, Director GAM Indonesia, Mr. Vincent as General Manager Buzzworld International, Mr. Yandeman as Managing Director Buzzworld Foundation, Bapak Tunjung Iswandaru as Head of Transportation Department Surabaya City, Bapak Stefan Arman as Technical Director PT Laksana Bus Manufacturer, Bapak Andi Utario Putro as Director PT Mayasar Bakti Utama, Bapak Yoga Adi Winarto as Advisor Kalistanusa Armada, Bapak Ahmad Izulwaro from Institute for Transportation Studies, and to all attendees. Ladies and gentlemen, today's webinar has ended. I'd like to remind you all that Buzzworld Southeast Asia and Buzzworld Conference will be held from 15 to 17 of May 2024 at the Expo Kemayoran, Jakarta, Indonesia. Please come and visit us. There will be a business matching agenda that can definitely encourage the progress of the Indonesia bus industry. On behalf of GAM Indonesia, thank you to all speakers, moderator, attendants for being with us today. I am Tiwi from GAM Indonesia. Good afternoon.
Pameran ini merupakan satu-satunya pameran yang mendatangkan banyak audiens dari luar negeri. Itu memang salah satu nilai plusnya dari pameran ini. Selain potensi customer, kita juga melihat beberapa vendor atau supplier yang kita bertemu berkenalan di pameran. Dengan adanya Buzzworld Southeast Asia di Indonesia ini, saya kira sangat bagus sekali untuk industri bus di Indonesia, karena benar-benar bisa memperkenalkan produk-produk Indonesia ke ajang internasional, terutama yang memang berhubungan langsung dengan dunia bus. Jadi memang sangat tepat sasaran.
Ini kita ikut yang pertama. Kita yang tahun lalu belum pernah ikut, kita di sini. Di sini kita banyak ketemu orang yang kita belum pernah ketemu sebelumnya. Hal-hal baru yang juga kita belajar di sini, ketemu dengan vendor-vendor yang dari juga kebetulan dari luar negeri juga sempat datang kan di sini. Jadi kita banyak belajar di sini. Ya kita senang sih kita bisa ikut di Buzzworld ini karena kita merasa pameran yang ini yang lebih terarah, karena kita di sini yang datang pun orang yang sudah mengenal dunia ini, bukan orang umum. Jadi setiap conversation yang kita lakukan juga lebih topiknya lebih narrow, lebih kecil. Begitu.
Saya terus terang sangat mendukung event-event ini karena ini event adalah B2B. Barang-barang investasi yang mereka dapatkan dari yang pameran di sini. Saya lihat dari situ adalah salah satu penting karena ini adalah kebanyakan pebisnis semua pada yang punya kepentingan dalam hal ini. Kalau di pameran-pameran customer-nya udah terfilter automatically. Terima kasih terhadap GAM yang sudah mengadakan ini dan Buzzworld yang bekerja sama dengan GAM. Mudah-mudahan di 2 tahun lagi ada di Indonesia lagi dan kami akan mengikuti lagi.
Dampak positif tentunya harapan kita pasti ya. Kita lebih banyak dikenal, efeknya adalah order yang berlimpah. Sukses, terima kasih dan harus tetap berjalan.
Banyak saya dampak positifnya, terutama kami mendapatkan banyak juga pengunjung-pengunjung yang potensial menjadi customer kami, baik dari dalam negeri maupun dari luar negeri. Paling banyak sih dari Indonesia, tapi juga ada beberapa dari India, dari Malaysia yang kemarin sempat juga berbincang-bincang dengan kami. Menurut kami, pameran seperti ini baik untuk dilaksanakan ya, karena membawa perusahaan kami untuk banyak exposure ke negara lain, juga ke pengunjung-pengunjung yang potensial menjadi customer kami.